you excited we finally have a real game tonight, or
Yes.
is it just this Antonio Brown news that doesn't even have us thinking about it anymore?
Well, you understand we're a Raiders town now. The Raiders are coming here. So give me your take on Antonio Brown. Before we get to the fantasy impact, give me your take just from a football fan standpoint on what AB is doing and what's going to happen.
You know, it's frustrating. I almost think at this point, can't the league offer some sort of a mental wellness evaluation? None of these things seem to be of the right mind of someone that's stable. We've seen him be catered to. I almost thought Gruden was going a bit far. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had an agency where I managed girls for about 4 years. It was a very tough job. I'm not going to kid you. They bail bondsmen call you in the middle of the night. Like the things that happen. But I knew I couldn't cater to them to the level that Gruden was catering to Antonio Brown because you're making this animal even bigger. And this, you know, in any contract now, even when I go on the road and do events, in our contract there's always a clause about defamation of brand, defamation of character, slander on social media. We all know now that that stuff is unacceptable in the business world. You can't do that. Him posting about the devil yesterday and bragging about the money he's getting for a helmet, and then now this supposed fight, it's downhill from here.
Lisa Ann with us, football expert. You can hear her on SiriusXM. Lisa Ann does fantasy Mondays at 10 o'clock Eastern. I guess it'll be 7 o'clock here, 5 o'clock here on Fridays. Friday night fantasy. That is a brilliant analogy. I never thought of comparing Gruden's management of Antonio Brown to potentially, something in the business world, especially your business. I ask you, who are the bigger pains in the keister to be around and manage from a diva standpoint, the males or the females?
Oh, the males are way better. To them, it's just business. I mean, they would come in and pay their commission every week. They always answer their phone. They want to work. It really bothered me because I would say to the girls, what kind of example are we setting as women in the workforce if we're allowing men to be automatic professionals? But you're managing narcissism. And I love about narcissism. Constantly needs to be petted. In the front in any of the classes on Hard Knocks, he has to have his shirt pulled up and be wearing that boomer, thing. And it's just like you can just tell it's just level that just it's not team friendly. He'd be better off in an individual sport like playing golf or tennis. But to be on a team with this guy has to be a nightmare.
This suspension that could be coming and maybe just a separation from the Raiders is just Armageddon across the fantasy world. Fill people in. Like ADP in straight drafts on Antonio Brown was about where? Did he fall a lot from normal expectations?
He fell because of the feet. I'm a big advocate of cryotherapy. I do it 5 days a week, and I had a friend that had a very similar burn, and it took him about 3 months to really start to develop the skin back on his feet, and he was able to rest his feet and wear specific socks and shoes. So I was able to convey the message, like, this is unrealistic that he's going to be 100% because each time you cut all skin, you're opening it back. Each time you do anything to it, you're opening it back up. So that bothered me. So I started to really draft Tyrell Williams. I don't have any Antonio Brown, but I have Tyrell Williams in about 70% of my leagues. And I just felt like he was getting all the reps with Derek Carr. He was doing all the right things. Phillip Rivers really liked to go to him. And here you go. Tyrell Williams just becomes fantasy gold.
You are a good fantasy player. I am a moron because I drafted my team with lots of dudes who had questions. So, like, I drafted Zeke Elliott. I drafted Antonio Brown. I drafted A.J. Green. But you know what? I didn't do what you did. I didn't insure myself with the next person in line behind them. That is just stupidity from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah, you should have been grabbing Tony Pollard as soon as you got any news. But, look, you're fine on Zeke right now. But my rule of thumb that I learned from my channel is I don't take any risks in the first 3 rounds. So if a player's already dealing with an injury or a player's, like, talking about a contract, I am completely out, but I will take their backup.
Yeah, we should have all learned from Le'Veon Bell. That was the worst case scenario, and people still drafted him and got just completely smoked on that one. So we mentioned Zeke, and we're talking to Lisa Ann, fantasy football expert, developing football expert. Of course, you can hear her on SiriusXM, Fantasy Sports Radio. You can follow her on Instagram and Twitter at Real Lisa Ann. With Zeke starting this week, I don't want to start him this week. What do I need in terms of running back 3? What sort of player? Because my running backs behind him are Ingram and Devontae Freeman. Do I put both of those guys in
Oh,
instead of Zeke this week.
Okay, I love Ingram this week. That excited me so much that's even one of your options. I mean, Ingram this week he's going against Miami. I mean, do you guys believe in magic? Do you believe Fitzmagic's going to get it done for the Dolphins? No weapons yet. Kenny Stills is gone. No way. Mark Ingram is a great play, but I still do believe that you need to play Zeke. I mean,
Really?
Let's just put the personal factor in there, okay? Let's talk personal factor, just like I thought about Antonio Brown and his mental state going into the season, the reason I didn't draft him. Okay, let's look at this right now. Zeke is an egomaniac. He just got the paycheck of his dreams. My biggest fear is he goes out there and plays too hard and gets injured. But he is going to go out there, and also, this is Jerry Jones, who just spent more money than he's ever spent on anybody. He is going to work this boy like he worked DeMarco Murray in 2015.
All right. A couple of running back situations that developed in the last week or so. So for a lot of leagues, these guys could be pickups or maybe trade options. Who are you more interested in? Carlos Hyde in H-Town or LaShawn McCoy in Kansas City?
The Kansas City backfield is a situation where there's so much sharing of work. I really like what Mahomes can do, and I really like to stay with the receivers or the tight end in Kansas City because I just feel like that's where I'm going to get my most PPR points. I'm not going to sit there and decide which week it's going to be a LaShawn McCoy, which week it's going to be a Damian Williams. So for that reason, then you're going to have to – your first pick was Carlos Hyde. Your second pick was who?
LaShawn McCoy. Who's going to have a bigger year.
Okay, cover that. Carlos Hyde would be a solid bet, but I wouldn't want to play him week one. You really need to see how any last-minute moves, even if you pick them up on the waiver wire, you got to wait and see. Even Devin Singletary, I think I drafted him a bunch because I didn't think LaShawn McCoy was going to be on that team for the season. No talk about him in camp, no coaching him up, nothing. I knew he was gone, so I picked up Singletary. Doesn't mean I'm playing him week one. I still want to see what this team looks like.
Do you play daily fantasy like for a Thursday night game? Are you in on a Thursday night game?
I won't do a one-game slate. It's too difficult. I mean, you're really just playing, like, you got to play both defenses, both kickers. It's a tricky situation. But I will play all weekend, and I will play a ton on DraftKings. I'll send out challenges all weekend. I'll also be covering some lines and placing some nice wagers on Bovada, which I'm excited about. But DFS is so fun because, you can look at a game like this matchup with the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins, and you can just go and stack that team. You can feel so comfortable playing Lamar Jackson. You can play Mark Ingram, who's actually really cheap, and their defense, and then you can go and build your team around that and feel great about it.
Let's go rapid fire on some prop bets for this game. You ready? Mitch Trubisky at William Hill Racing Sportsbook here at Silver Sevens. Over, under, 1.5 touchdown passes. Where are you going?
I'm going to go over for Trubisky tonight.
Aaron Rodgers, big passing night. Over, under is 271.5 passing yards.
Yeah, I'm going to go under for that for Rodgers tonight.
Why?
What?
Why? Why are you going under?
Oh, I think there's going to be a little bit more of a hesitation for Rodgers to go big, and I just think this play calling is really tricky right now. They were going through debacles on the sidelines in preseason, and I'm just not planning on him going this hard this early.
Another prop, the longest touchdown scored by either team, over, under 41.5 yards. Will there be a big touchdown?
I really struggled with this one because the way they talked about Scantling, he could be the one to really take off for Green Bay, right? But then again, you let Tariq Cohen break off a fast one. He can go 50, 60 yards. So I'm kind of going to have to pass on this bet.
Aaron Jones, Packers running back, rushing yards, over, under, just 52.5.
Under.
All right. I'm going to close out. I need one more fantasy question answered. I actually, like I said, I have Antonio Brown on my team. I have the option of putting Geronimo Allison in the lineup as my wide receiver 2 instead of Antonio Brown. Should I make the move?
You're going to have to, right? I mean, is Tyrell Williams available on the waiver wire?
No. And my other wide receiver options, not good. 2 of them are hurt, and the other one is Quincy Enunwa.
Ooh, that's really painful. I'm really sorry for you. What happened during your draft?
Wait, no, I got another one. But he's coming off injury. This is probably the choice. Emmanuel Sanders of the Broncos.
I do like Emmanuel Sanders this week. He looks great in preseason. I think he's 100% back from that injury. So at least you have one player you could be happy about watching, and you won't be crying all day.
I love it. Lisa Ann's like, what happened in your draft? I don't know. I wasn't.
Were you drinking? Was there open bar?
No, I wasn't.
Because whenever I go to a draft, I don't drink, so I always suggest that they have open bar. because I love everyone to get nice and toasty on draft night.
It was the first draft I've done in forever, Lisa Ann, where I wasn't drunk. I got to get back to drinking.
Maybe it helped you. Maybe that was your edge.
I think it has. It calms me down. I'm too stressed out, and then I get guys like Quincy and Nunwa, who I need in week 1. I'm a disaster. All right, Lisa Ann, tell people about the show coming up on Friday on SiriusXM.
You can hear me every Friday night fantasy. I will be running a challenge for 200 people to get in for free as well on DraftKings. I'll tweet it out tomorrow. Show is 8 to 10. Looking forward to talking about tonight's game action on the show tomorrow.
You're awesome. Thank you so much.
You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the game.